Most people are still using AI like a really fast assistant. That's where most people are already behind. OpenAI, Microsoft, and Anthropic aren't racing to build better chat windows. They're racing to build workers. Right now, two people can use the same AI tools and get completely different outcomes. One gets answers, the other gets actual work done while they sleep. I have spent 20 years building operating systems inside real businesses, and this shift is a lot simpler than the jargon makes it sound. So in this video, I'll show you exactly what AI agents are, how they work, when they're useful, and when they're just expensive hype. So the first mistake people make with agents is the same mistake company makes with hiring. They find one annoying task and immediately think they need someone for it. People see ChatGPT Agent browse a website. They see Microsoft Copilot Studio building agents inside companies. And the first reaction is, I need an agent for everything. No, you don't. That is how you build expensive chaos. In business, I would never hire someone just because one task annoyed me. I would ask better questions. Is this actually a job? Because if it only happened once, it's not a job. It's a task. If the steps are unclear, it's not a job. If I cannot check whether the result was good, it's not a job. AI agents work the same way. So the first question is not which agent tool should I use? The first question is, does this task even deserve an agent? I call it the job test. Before you build an agent, the task needs to pass 3 checks. Repeatable, runnable, reviewable. Repeatable means the task keeps coming back. Every time a lead comes in, every time a competitor changes something, that is where agents start making sense. Runnable means the task has clear steps. Not help me grow my business. That is not a job, that is a wish. A runnable task sounds like this. Every Monday morning, check these 5 competitor websites. Look for pricing changes, new offers, product updates, and new blog posts. Summarize what changed. Send it to me before 9 a.m. Now we have a job. The agent can read, compare, write, and send. And the third check is reviewable. Can you tell if the work was good? Did it check the right website? Did it check the important change? Did it send something useful? If yes, now the task is agent ready. If no, do not automate it yet, because the tool is not the bottleneck. None of them fix a bad job description. If the work is unclear, the agent will not save you. It will make messes happen faster. So before you chase another tool, run the job test. Is it repeatable? Is it runnable? Is it reviewable? That one distinction will save you from treating new AI tool like a magic button. But once a task passes the test, something important changes. Now you're not asking AI for an answer anymore. You're handing it a job. And this is where most people get too casual. Because a job is not one action. It looks simple from outside, but inside, the agent has to figure out where to look, what matters, what to do next, whether the result is even right for you. Miss one of those pieces, and the agent either becomes useless or dangerous. Think of it like a small team, not a search box. One part watches, one part plans, one part does, and one part checks. Let's make this real. Every Friday, check your customer reviews. Find the complaints that keep showing up. Group them by issues. Write a short report. Send it to the manager. That sounds simple, but it's not one job. It is 4 jobs hiding inside one instruction. First, the agent has to watch. That means it has to go find the information. It may be pulling from Google, Yelp, support tickets, or a spreadsheet. The watcher layer pulls the raw material. But if watching is weak, everything after that is already damaged. Wrong source, old data, missing reviews. Then comes the planner. The planner decides what matters. Because collecting information is not the same as understanding it. A bad employee can collect information all day and still not know what's important. Same with an agent. The planner has to separate repeated complaints from one-off noises. It has to notice if 5 customers mention the same billing problem, or if one angry review is loud but not actually a pattern. If planning is weak, the agent solves the wrong problem. Then comes the doer. This is where work leaves the chat window and enters the workflow. The doer writes the report, updates the tracker, sends the message, and moves the task to the right place. This is where agent needs hands. Workflow tools let it touch websites, files, emails, apps, and internal system. But if the doing part is weak, the agent just creates cleanup work. It writes the wrong thing, sends it to the wrong place, or makes you babysit the whole process anyway. And then comes the last job, the one most people skip, the checker. This is the part that decides whether the agent is useful or dangerous. Did it check the right date range? Did it pull from the right review sources? Did it make a recommendation that matches the evidence? That check matters. Because without it, the agent can sound confident and still be wrong. They build an agent that watches. They build an agent that plans. They build an agent that does. But they forget to build the check. And now they have an assistant that can make mistakes at a machine speed. That is not leverage. That is risk. In a real business, I would never give someone access to customer data, pricing, emails, and reports without a review system. So I would not give an agent that kind of access without one either. This is how you separate a useful agent from an impressive demo. Because one good run does not mean you have a worker yet. It just means the agent followed the instructions one time. The real question is, what happens next Friday? Does it need the whole explanation again? Or does it remember how the job is supposed to be done? Most people hear memory and they think it means AI remembers your name or your tone. That helps, but that is surface memory. The memory that matters is procedural memory, the kind that remembers the standard, the process, and what it got wrong the last time. Think about training a real employee. The first week, you explain everything, where the files are, how the report should look, what to flag before sending. That is normal. But if the same employee comes back every Monday and asks you the exact same questions again, you don't have an employee. You have a recurring interruption. That is how most people still use AI. They keep retraining the tool every single time. Same brand voice, same format, same corrections, same reminders. Then they say AI is not saving me that much time. Of course it is not. You're still doing the management work every time. Most people stop at preference memory. That helps AI sound more like you. But sounding like you is not the same as running the work better. The real shift is procedural memory. That is when the agent remembers how the job gets done. If it checks customer reviews every Friday, it remembers the review sites, the report format, and that one angry review does not equal a trend. That is process, not personality. If memory is attached only to your preferences, the agent sounds more like you. If memory is attached to the workflow, the agent starts working more like your business. But memory does not improve the agent by magic. It only helps if the right correction, examples, and standards carry forward. Bad memory creates bad habits. If it remembers the wrong source, it keeps checking the wrong place. So the goal is not an agent that does whatever it wants. The goal is an agent that remembers the job well enough to repeat it without dragging you back into every step. And once the agent remembers one workflow, you are not going to leave it one job forever. You're going to watch more places, checking more signals, running more lanes, and bringing back only what changed. That is where the temptation starts. Because the value is not more information. That is where people get this wrong. The value is less searching, more signal. Humans usually work in sequence. One site, then the next. One report, then another. But agents do not have to work that way. If the workflow is designed correctly, the agent can split the work into lanes. One lane watches pricing, one watches customer complaints, one watches vendor updates, one watches sales objections. Then all of that comes back as one question. What changed? That is the shift. Not 5 reports, one market brief. Pricing moved here, complaints increased here, vendor terms changed here, everything else stays quiet. That matters because most businesses are not starving for data. They're drowning in scattered updates. The problem is not that nobody can find the information. The problem is that by the time someone finds it, compares it, cleans it up, and turns it into decision, the moment is already over. The report tells you what exists. Intelligence tells you what moved. Because if nothing changed, I don't need a 12-page report. I need silence. But if pricing changed, complaints are repeating, or vendor terms moved, I need to know. The agent's job is not to impress me with volume. It is to reduce the noise until the decision becomes obvious. That is why parallel work is powerful. It changes the cost of staying aware. Before agents, someone had to check, compare, summarize, send the update. And because that work was boring, it usually got skipped. Or it happened late. Or it happened only when something already went wrong. Agents change that. They keep watching the boring stuff. Not because the boring stuff is unimportant, because boring work is exactly where problems hide. A pricing change is boring until it costs you sales. A repeated customer complaint is boring until it becomes churn. A vendor update is boring until your margins get hit. A real leverage is not choosing another platform. It is designing lanes a human can supervise. That is the operator shift. Not one person doing more tasks, one person designing better lanes. But every lane you add also creates another place where the agent can misunderstand the signal, or overreact, or miss context, or move too fast. That is the control problem. More workers only create leverage if the control system is strong enough to catch the mistake. Because once the agent can watch, decide, and act, the question changes. It is no longer, can I get the work done? It becomes, can I trust the work that came back? That is the control problem. Normal automation follows one path. Agents can reroute. That is useful until the agent reroutes around the wrong thing, because the real world does not stay clean. A competitor changes their website layout. A vendor buries pricing change inside a long email. A basic workflow can break there. An agent has a chance to reroute. But rerouting is only useful if the agent knows the goal, the proof standard, and the boundary. Without that, rerouting is not intelligent. It is guessing with permission. And guessing with permission is dangerous. This is why many agent system needs control before they need more power. Parallel work without judgment creates parallel chaos. If 5 workers are watching 5 lanes, someone still has to define what matters. Otherwise, you do not have a team. You have 5 confused interns running around with laptops. One sees one angry customer and calls it a trend. That is what happens when lanes do not have standards. In real business, I would never tell 5 employees, go find anything interesting and send me whatever you think matters. That is begging for noise. I would give each person a lane, tell them what counts, what gets ignored, and what needs approval before anything gets sent. Agents need control rules, not because you want to slow them down, because you want speed without chaos. The best agent workflow comes down to 3 control factors: goal, proof, boundary. Goal means the agent knows the job, watch competitor pricing, and flag changes that affect your offer. That is a goal. Keep an eye on the market is foggy. Proof means the agent knows what good work looks like. What source did it check? What changed? What evidence supports the recommendation? If the agent cannot show proof, it should not be trusted. And boundary means the agent knows where it is allowed to act. Can it draft the report? Can it send it? Can it update the spreadsheet or approve the refund? This is where most people make the dangerous jump. They go from help me draft to go do it without review. The agent can draft, prepare, and recommend. But before it sends, spends, deletes, or approves, you need a control point. Reading a web page is low risk. Sending a customer email is higher. Changing pricing or approving refunds needs review. Touching legal, finance, health, or customer trust should not be fully autonomous just because the tool can technically do it. That is not caution. That is basic management. In every business I have run, control is not there to kill speed. Control is there so that the speed does not kill the business. The better the agent gets, the more important the control system becomes. Because a bad prompt wastes your time. A bad agent creates real damage. It can send the wrong message, update the wrong record, or make a confident recommendation from weak evidence. Before you let an agent run, ask 3 questions. What is the goal? What proof does it need to show? Where is the boundary? If you cannot answer those, it may be ready to assist, but it is not ready to run, because using agents and managing agents are not the same thing. That is where trust stops being just a feeling. It becomes a solid system. Output is getting cheaper. Action is getting easier, but judgment is getting more expensive. That is why trust management becomes the real skill. Trust is not a feeling. Trust is a system. You do not trust an agent because it sounds smart or strokes your ego. You trust it because it performs a narrow job correctly, repeatedly, and with evidence. That means before you let an agent run, you need the same 3 controls: goal, proof, boundary. Can I define the outcome? Can I see the evidence? Can I control what it is allowed to touch? That is the difference between using an agent and managing one. And that is where the real shift happens. AI agents are not just changing how work gets done. They're changing who gets trusted to define the work. Not better prompts, not better tools, better judgment. The tool layer is getting easier, so that part is not the moat anymore. The moat is knowing what work deserves an agent, what needs review, and what should never leave human judgment. Because when output becomes cheap, taste gets valuable. When action becomes easy, control gets more valuable. And when agents can do more of the work, the person who defines good work becomes harder to replace. If you can define the work, agents become leverage. If you cannot, they become noise at machine speed. The future will not belong to the person who uses the most AI tools. It will belong to the person who can design the clearest work. Because AI can help do the job, but someone still has to know what the job should be. And if this changed how you think about AI agents, go watch this video next. Because what we talked about today is the practical version of that shift. If you're still using AI to answer questions, rewrite emails, or speed up tasks, you're still operating at the lowest level. That video breaks down the bigger progression: speed, delegation, and orchestration. Because the real danger is not that AI replaces you overnight. It is that you stay in the same role while someone else learns how to hand out the work. If this shifts how you think about AI, please subscribe. If you want the deeper thinking behind these videos, join the newsletter. That is where I share what does not always make it into the final cut. What we covered today is not about chasing better tools. It is about defining the work clearly enough that AI becomes leverage instead of another bottleneck. I'm Farooq Zafar, founder of Great Behind Growth, where we build real businesses with grit, not gimmicks. Let's build something real together.